I lean back. Lean back.
Is that our song
Lean
today?
back. I guess. Lean back.
Okay.
And we're live.
It's just been a rough everything, y'all.
Oh, no.
I don't even know how I got here.
Well,
I clearly...
Once upon a time.
Oh, yeah, that too. I clearly drove here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Walked in the door. Yep.
You are not sitting how you normally sit, and it is seriously throwing me for a loop.
Are you?
No, yeah, it's literally, you're giving like, this is you. That's how I feel right now. Like your body language, you normally are the one that looks relaxed. Nothing about you a second ago looked relaxed at all.
Let me.
Yes, that has to be pulled towards you.
Okay. Let me make sure it's all up in my grill.
Yeah.
Is this better? Do you feel? Do I feel? Hold on. That's what it is. Okay. All right. Everyone calm down.
Help me. Help me. Yeah, I've just had like a bad go of it. Like it's just been like bad life, but you know, sometimes like smacks of good in it. Smacks of good, not like sprinkles, like hard smacks.
You just get slapped in the face with some good.
Yeah, it's very rough. Yeah, I just had, I don't know, like I can't get it together this week, especially. Like I feel like I had 100 things to do and I feel like I was productive, but then I remember the times that I stopped what I was doing to watch Gilmore Girls. So
and you feel immediately guilty, like
I'm like, oh, I did like take a break, and then I did watch like, okay, it's not my fault, and that's because I'm finally in the season with Luke and Lorelai, and it's like perfect, and I'm like, oh, I love them so much, but that's the problem. It's me. Hi. So I just am like, I can't get it together, and so then, okay. Here's a health update. Actually, I'm being dramatic. Shocker. So I've got like been getting like Charlie horses in my calves recently.
Ooh, and
it's like the only spot I've ever gotten one. By
if you've never had a Charlie horse, count your blessings. They are miserable. For anyone who doesn't know what a Charlie horse is,
I physically can't explain it to you.
It's when I usually get them when I'm sleeping. I don't know that I've ever gotten one when I was awake. But it's when like a part of your body, usually it's in your calf, will just like your muscle just starts to seize. It like cramps up and like it is so painful. And you physically, the only way to relieve the pain is to put your foot flat on the floor because then it lengthens out that muscle and then it stretches it out and it releases it from the cramp. But to get to the point where you can actually put your foot flat on the floor is hard. Because you're in such crippling pain that like all you can do is like like that's it. You're just gasping in pain.
Literally, like it's the worst. So I one time got a Charlie horse at a movie. In the movie theater.
You were awake.
I was awake.
I don't think I've ever had it happen awake.
Oh, geez.
Almost always I'm like I'm in the middle of sleep. I'm sleeping and it wakes me up.
It's the worst. So I had gotten like, and sometimes you can tell when they're about to happen. So you try to like correct real quick.
You have to like quickly like flex your foot and put your heel out.
I almost got one I don't know, maybe like a month ago in like my right calf. I'm just laying in bed, minding my business. And all of a sudden, my left calf seizes up and I'm like flinging myself across the bed going, no, please, no. It's the worst.
Like someone's chasing you or trying to kill you and you're like, no, please.
Like literally I'm begging for my leg to just not. So then it stops and then I'm like,
your body betrayed you.
Why? So then I noticed something else. Like when I get out of the shower, I noticed at the tops of my like thighs, like right near my knee, it's like purple. And I'm like, I feel like it wasn't like that always. So then I was looking up circulation problems and they were like, yeah, that can happen. Charlie horses and muscle cramps are common. If you're just like, basically, you need to exercise. And I was like, I feel attacked. I definitely haven't worked out since COVID.
Yeah.
So
pretty
then,
much.
Yeah. So,
I don't mean you, I mean me as well.
I think we both pretty much stopped at the same time because we stopped boxing.
Yeah, COVID caused us to stop going to our boxing classes, and then we
did them
at home for a bit, and it was kind of like off and on, hit or miss, and then it's probably been like 2 years of just like
2 years of just sitting.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel it, and my body's like, that's enough. that's enough from you. And I'm like, oh. So I told Travis, I was like, I want to start walking around our neighborhood. I want to start doing this. I want to start doing that. And I was like, I really, really want to get like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch so I can like really track my steps. And he's like, your phone does that. And I was like, but not as accurate as like the watch.
And it doesn't track your heart rate, and
Yeah.
you can't close the rings. You have Apple Watches gamify fitness and like physical health, and it's fun.
So I was just like, yeah, I want to get one of these, blah, blah, blah. Left it at that. And then I found a smartwatch that was like $50 and had really, 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 really good reviews on like Amazon, but Target also had it for the same exact price. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just grab that from Target.
Yeah, you can get like Fitbits and other ones that are like, they don't do as much as the Apple Watch, but they still do like some of the fitness stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going home and then I text Travis like, hey, by the way, I'm stopping by Target. I found a cheap smartwatch or whatever, and then I'll be home. I get home and he just looks at me and he walks in my office and he pulls out an Apple Watch like box and he goes, you ruined it. So I have an Apple Watch and I have to take the other one back.
It's like, you ruined it.
You ruined it. And I was like,
happy early Valentine's Day to you.
I know. So anyway, I have to start working out again because like, bruh, it's not the vibe. It's just not cute. And I just feel so lazy. And then like it's fun because it yells at you to drink water and then it tells you to get the fuck up. So I'm like, okay, that's nice.
I like the concept of an Apple Watch or like a Fitbit, fitness watch, whatever. I just hate wearing watches and like bracelets too. Because I feel like they restrict my movement in my wrists. And when you work on computers and write all day, it drives me nuts. Like I'm just not a watch or a bracelet person at all.
Yeah, I'm normally not, but then I guess I just feel like, oh, look at that. I've got an Apple Watch, so it doesn't bother me right now.
And then I also feel like if I'm wearing like short sleeves, I feel like a watch just ruins the line.
That's also why I think getting the color is good. Like, don't get black. Like this, I think this is a nice one because it's like, it's almost like skinnish, champagne-ish. It's just like, it's gonna
it's not as like stark of a contrast.
Yeah, it's not like, I'm Kim Possible, which is fine. That's your vibe.
Call me, beat me.
Exactly. So that's like my updates. I don't have it together. I don't have our episode edited. I have to edit it today for the one that's going to go up Tuesday. I have to finish editing it to give to you by tonight. Because if I don't get it to you by tonight, then the thumbnails are definitely not going to get done.
No.
Because it's, once the week starts, it's just basically like over with. So, yeah. That's it.
Okay. Well,
that's my life update.
My life update. Yesterday I went to the Flint River Aquarium with my family. So a river aquarium, it's not an aquarium. It is, well, I guess technically it is, but it's just like it's a really small one. So it's like a community little in the small town of Albany, which is one of the most depressed like cities, communities in the entire country.
You said depressed?
Yeah, like a depressed economy, like a depressed community. There's just not.
That's just sad.
Yeah, it's really rough. Like it was like the city of Albany and like the county that it's in was like one of the hardest hit by COVID and like the pandemic and stuff.
They get hit by tornadoes a lot.
Yes, and it like for real, they do. You're right.
They like really do.
And anywho, so we went to the River Aquarium and it was like $10 per person to get in, and it took us. We were in there for maybe like an hour and a half. And it was a cute little, it has different like fishes. I know that it's the plural of fish, but I like to say fishes. Different fish, and there's a little bird cage. There was a macaw, which looks kind of like a parrot. It's red and it has a big beak and it has a few like colorful like other feathers in there. And I named him Tim Macaw. When you think Tim Macaw.
Oh my.
So that was cool. And there was one fish. Well, it wasn't a fish. I don't think. It was a two-toed.
What?
Amphiuma. It's on my sign. It's a two-toed amphiuma.
I'm just sick of scientists thinking they have to name things like shit that I can't fucking pronounce.
Oh no, I saw this thing on Twitter where someone took a picture of they took a picture of a bird and it had a black body and a yellow head, and they typed into Google because they wanted to know what type of bird it was, and they typed in black bird, yellow head, and the name of the bird, and the caption was, "I hate what do they call it? Bird people? people that study birds, or whatever. They hate people who study birds because they're like, the name of the bird was the yellow-headed blackbird.
I mean,
it was black body, yellow-headed blackbird.
See,
what's this bird called?
It's one of those things where you're like, I just need to be able to pronounce it, like a cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not redbird. It's cardinal.
So
blue jay.
I'm going to show you this thing. It's called a two-toed amphiuma. And I want you to tell me what you think, what type of animal you think that this is. You can hit the space bar because I took a video. So you can play and it moves around a little bit.
Excuse me. It's disturbing me.
Uh-huh. It disturbed me too. When I first walked into that little room, they have little tanks with different little fishes and stuff. That one, I saw it start to rise up out of the little log, a hole in the log. And then its nose, or the nose of it, kind of breached the surface of the water. And then it came down just a little bit and then it stayed there. So I saw it come up and then it just didn't move. But yeah, it looks kind of like a penis-shaped snake.
Yeah, it's like, it's thick.
It is. And we'll insert
it looks like
it
also looks like a mini basilisk from Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the basilisk was thick.
Yes.
And it wasn't like a skinny little snake.
And it's got like, it's not really a triangle shaped head. It kind of just comes to a little rounded point.
Is it like in the eel family or something?
I thought it was an eel as well. It's a salamander. Because I was like, this definitely looks like a prehistoric snake. Like, it gives a little bit of credence to like the snakes used to have feet, because it's called a two-toed. Toed, like two toes.
Hold. Snakes used to have feet?
Yes. Yes. And then they
evolved. Is there concept art of this out there?
The two-toed.
That doesn't have feet.
It does. It has toes. I'll show you. Okay. Do you see?
Oh, I got like gross chills.
Do you see this little white speck right here by its face?
Wait, that's not like a thing on your laptop? Oh, I thought that was dust.
That's toes. It's got on each side of its face. It's like, so it's got its head.
It literally.
And it's right on the side where you would imagine like gill placement might be. It's little two toes. They're this big.
They can't walk with that.
But they used to be able to. So salamanders. It's a salamander. And salamanders are like wet lizards. I call them wet lizards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was disturbing for me, and I felt that I really needed to share that with you.
No, I need to. Where's some concept art of some snakes with feet?
Yeah, like prehistoric.
We know what we think pterodactyls look like. We don't even know they could have been fucking like hairy, or they could have been birds.
Mm-hmm.
They could have been, but we assume they just had this rough ass skin. What? I'm gonna look this up. I'm disturbed. That really has bothered me. Just, it seems to just go against everything that's a snake.
Well, like whales used to have feet. They have those.
What the fuck do they need feet for? They're whales.
Well, they have, what are they called? Fuck me in words today. Like we have tailbones. They're like a part, or like an appendix. So they're like parts of our body that they used to serve a function, but like they don't really anymore. So like humans have the tailbone or like the appendix. Nobody really knows what it is for, because you can take it out and be perfectly fine.
It like attacks you in bursts, and you got to get it out or you die.
Mm-hmm. And so there's theories that it used to be like for processing, for help your body like process like raw meat and stuff like that,
which would probably make sense.
Mm-hmm. But so whales have these bones in their like close-ish to where, like if you were looking at a whale with its two front fins, where you would think two like back feet might be, they have these bones that are like, they can tell used to be feet bones.
There's just
they're just born with them. Like we're born with a tailbone. Like we don't got tails now, but we might have used to.
We might have used to. We might have used the.
So yeah, that was I just had this whole like very disturbing, and then was all it went down the thought rabbit hole.
It kind of did feel pornographic to look at.
It was
weird. Yeah.
It was really disturbing, and I'm like, what is this?
You're like, ew.
Yeah. So that was cool. I saw an albino alligator.
I've seen an albino alligator.
It was very tiny, but then they had this thing across from where its enclosure, where it was like all the different types of like crocodiles and alligators that exist in the world. And there's like the Cayman alligator, which is like teeny tiny. It grows to like 3 or 4 feet. It's just like a big lizard.
Yeah.
And all the way up to like this huge freaking like saltwater crocodile that lives in the ocean. Like, when I think of like alligators and crocodiles, I think like swamps or like on the coastal areas where they can get in and out of the water. No, this bitch lives in the ocean.
Alligator. Or yeah, because crocodile. Because they're mean as fuck.
They're huge. Like, and so it was cool just seeing like where the American alligator like falls in with all this.
Because we don't have crocodiles here.
No.
We have alligators. And they're pretty passive. Unless you're like in their space and get in there.
Yeah,
they don't really attack.
They're
humans.
not aggressive.
No.
Unless what happens when you hear people getting attacked by alligators is because people have been feeding them. Like, because then the alligators become less afraid of humans.
Exactly. Yeah.
When they get treated like pets and fed food.
Yeah.
And then they start to like attack them because they think they're going after food.
Which that's what's wild when you think about like Steve Irwin and his families. Those were crocodiles, which are so much fucking bigger than alligators. And I'm like, that motherfucker was so cool. Oh, he was so cool. The goat. Anyway, it's just wild to think that who the fuck like wants to wrestle with a fucking crocodile?
Nobody.
So what? Steve did. Steve was like, I got it.
Look at his beautiful teeth. No, Steve. Stop.
Steve, walk away. And then Terry's like, that's my man. Look at the screen. That is your man. That's mine. That was Terry.
What else did I want to talk about today? Oh, oh gosh, there's a couple other things. Okay, so did you hear, and this is one I didn't tell you I was going to talk about. Did you hear about this radioactive thing that got lost in Australia?
No.
It was
Why?
For some reason, hold on.
Are we about to have superheroes?
No. It was a capsule. That's why I was thinking pill. It's a capsule. So they were basically there was some sort of machine thing that had a radioactive capsule as part of it.
What does that mean?
It doesn't matter. So there was it was for science purposes, I assume.
Such a blank. It's a radioactive. What does that mean? And that's not important.
It doesn't matter. It was radioactive. It's a capsule, so it's teeny tiny. And they took apart this like machine because they needed to fix some component of it or move it or something. I think they were servicing it. And so they had to transport it. So they have this big truck that is used to transport this radioactive capsule. Well, this capsule, they put inside this like container to hold it. And then that container is like strapped down to the back of this like basically like a semi sort of truck, right? And so they're moving this truck through the outback, like in Australia. So they're moving it through, basically it's just like there's nothing, no civilization, no towns, nothing. It's just the middle of nowhere. And they realize when they get to their destination that they have lost the capsule. It's not in the container that it's supposed to be in anymore. So what they figured out was that the capsule, they think that the container it was in, there was a bolt that got jolted loose while they were driving. And the capsule, being so small, was able to then roll out and fall out of there. And so for a while, for a couple weeks, there's been a radioactive capsule on the loose somewhere in Australia. They said there was a stretch of, it was several miles. I forget exactly how long it was. But there was several miles that it could have been lost in. And so they were having to search for it because if some random person were to like find it and pick it up and like not know what it is, they could get like cancer and die and get burns and like it could get rough. And so they had to find it. And so it took them a couple weeks, but they did find it. Good news is they found it.
I'm just like, why does it exist? Like, what is it for?
I don't remember. I mean, they use radioactive things for, I mean, a lot of science stuff. Like nuclear power plants have radioactive components. And then, I mean, like chemotherapy, it involves like radioactive stuff, I think. X-rays. I don't know enough about science. But I was just, it was one of those things where I read it and I was like, this is not real. They lost a radioactive capsule in the middle of the outback.
Yeah.
And then they had to find it.
No, see, like, literally, I had a moment like that with the Chinese balloon. That's not real. Like, that can't be real.
Okay, please explain to me, because I saw something about some balloons being flown and then shot down or something, or not shot down, and I was like, what is happening?
So basically, this Chinese surveillance balloon entered U.S. airspace, I guess about like a week ago or so. And
first of all, balloons.
And the reason that is because a lot of people are talking about like satellites, and that's fine for imagery, but they're not close enough to get like heat signals, or they were even saying like certain like waves in the air, I guess like radiation, or even like communication, and they even said like microwaves and stuff. There was all this stuff. They were like, there's just things that satellites cannot get. So the U.S. is like, this bitch is here. It's not even the first time they've like intercepted something like this. And then China was like, oh my gosh, guys, we're so sorry. Like, that's just like a weather balloon. It's like for research purpose, civilian like research purposes, and it just got off course because of the weather.
Why do you need to research the weather so far away from China?
Oh well, no, it got off track. It wasn't supposed to come over here. The weather made it
because you don't have control over your balloon.
And it's like literally a balloon. It's like giving hot air balloon or something. And so I'm sitting here like, what the fuck are you talking about? So the U.S. was like side eye and was just like, okay, whatever. And the U.S. was like, it's not a threat to us. We knew it was here for a while. And the only reason that it's really getting brought up is because civilians are kind of noticing it. And apparently this has happened before and civilians just didn't. And the U.S. was very nonchalant about it. And then Biden was like, yeah, we're going to shoot it down, but it has to get to a place that we can shoot it down. And it's
safely.
Yeah. So it got to like the Carolinas and they shot it down. And then China goes,
how dare you?
They're like, balloon. They said, we told you it wasn't a threat and you did it anyway. And you know what? We're mad about it. And we think we should be able to retaliate. And you guys were so dramatic and all this stuff. And the U.S. is like,
okay.
Like, what are you talking about? So the U.S. is completely like, no, you're just lying. That was not. It was a spy balloon. But it was trying to spy on us. And the other thing is there were other ones found, apparently cited. And I think they said Colombia. And they were even saying Australia needs to be on the lookout. And there was another country. And this is all going down when we were supposed to have somebody from the U.S. go to China because Biden had met with like the Chinese, I'm going to say ruler. I don't know if it's called a president. I'm not sure what they're like. I'm just going to say the ruler. Because we were basically trying to have better relations with them. Guess that's not happening right now because we were supposed to have somebody go over there, and now he is no longer going over there. And we also just went to oh shit, oh god, what country's right there? Is it the Philippines over there? Yes, I was correct. So basically, the Philippines agreed to a larger American military presence in their country because that also allows America to have a little more surveillance on China. And so this is all happening within the same time period this is all happening within the same time period and all this stuff. So we were supposed to go over there. Now we're not. We now have a larger presence, military presence in the Philippines, and there's just all this stuff happening. And it's just like, why? Like, why would you think for a moment that we even would like, yeah, have your balloon back?
Yeah. So my thing is like the U.S. government don't play around when it comes to airspace. Like, you cannot fly a drone. Like, if you're just using a drone to get like footage for some like video that you're trying to do or whatever, you can't fly a drone in protected airspaces. Like, literally your drone will shut down because the government has made it to where that will happen. Like, there's a no tolerance policy for like unverified or unapproved aircraft flying in certain airspaces. So regardless of if it's just a weather balloon or not, bitch is coming down.
Or like civilian research. I feel like I read like a few different things. And
if it's not approved and you don't have control of it, like to where you can get it out of that airspace. Like, clearly, if you're in an airspace where you're not supposed to be, you don't have control of that craft, or you're doing it intentionally. Either way, not acceptable. It's coming down. Like,
oh yeah,
zero tolerance.
It's just ridiculous. Like, what the actual fuck? You just see this shit and you're like, what? It's just fucking bizarre. Like, how the fuck? And then there were videos of it being shot down, and
What did they shoot it down with? Like
a fighter jet did it.
oh, they should have pew pew.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's like video, like you see the jet, and then somebody like recorded it and they put like Freebird to it, and I'm like,
I mean,
yeah,
all right.
So there's that.
What were the two other things I wanted to talk about? I'm trying not to have my laptop in front of me, but then I'm like, I need like a list written down, like, what? This episode is just a series of us being like, hold on, 1 second,
pause, hold on,
uno momento, por favor. Oh, okay. So have you heard about this deep fake Twitch streamer situation?
I've heard of deep fakes, but not anything in particular.
I don't know all the people's names involved, so just know that.
Got it. We don't know the people's names.
But, so there's this Twitch streamer who's a dude. He's on his Twitch stream, looking up something. And so his people watching his stream notice that, like, of his open tabs, one of the tabs he has open is for this website that is, like, it's specifically a deep fake porn website that he has a tab open. And like one of the preview tabs, or like they can see like the names of some other like Twitch streamers on there that are women. And so the reason that it's such a gross and weird thing is that like the women's names that people can see are like people that he's either like colleagues with, like has worked with before, or like that he actually, like, one of them was the like either wife or girlfriend of one of his friends. And so people are like, what the hell? And so they call him out on it. They're like, what is this bullshit? And so apparently he had been on this website looking at, or had seen either, he's saying, I think that he didn't watch the full videos, or he didn't watch the videos, or didn't seek it out or whatever. He just somehow, had been researching a lot into AI and deep fake stuff. And then he came upon it during his research and reading up on it and stuff. And so people are like calling him out on his bullshit and being like, this is really kind of gross. Like, especially because one of the women that's like, her name came up, like she's actively like working with her lawyers fighting to get deep fake porn of her taken off of the internet, and is like suing the companies that are putting it out and stuff like that. And so what I wanted to like bring up or talk about wasn't necessarily that situation, but it was the whole concept of like some people, it's the like, how ethical is deep fake porn? Because there's some people that are saying like, this is really gross, and like putting someone else's face on someone else's body in a sexual context without their consent is really disturbing.
Yeah, it's violating.
And there's other people that are like, oh my, it's not even that person's actual body. They're not actually doing the thing. Their face is just superimposed on it. Like, it's not a big deal. Why are people so upset and think it's gross?
Because it's disgusting. And the people that don't think it's gross are the people that want to go watch like porn of certain celebrities. Like, you're fucking nasty. Like, it's disgusting. That's like almost equivalent to getting like your nudes leaked that you didn't ask. And even though it's not your body, the intention is, it's still your face.
It's still, the intention is still to view you or observe you in a sexual situation.
Exactly.
But
that
like,
you did not consent to.
And you're also not getting compensated for.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're using my face. Like, that's disgusting.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's maybe where part of like the lawsuit, I would think some of that would come into play, is when you're going after these companies that are either making it or distributing it. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you're using my likeness, my image, my name without compensating me for it.
Exactly.
And people are clicking on this because they think it's me, and I'm not getting compensated for it. And you're also you don't have my permission. I didn't sign a release or anything. And so,
yeah, it's really nasty.
It's like, from a business, even just like money standpoint, it's like unethical to do that.
Yeah.
But then again, from just a purely like moral standpoint, it's gross.
It's
like
really nasty.
And some people were saying that the people who consume like deep fake porn, part of what gets them off is the power, in that it's that they don't have the consent of the people that are depicted in these videos.
That's so nasty. So gross.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ew, bruh. what the fuck's wrong with you, you fucking nasty pervert?
It's like there's so much content out there that if you want to watch porn or consume it or whatever, there's so much out there for free or that you can also pay for
Of people that
are willing to do it and that consent to do it and they're fine with it. So like the only reason I can think that you would want to view and consume deep fake stuff is because the people that you want to see, for whatever reason in your head, you fantasize about them, whatever, the people that you want to see haven't made that stuff. And so it's without their consent. You want to consume this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so violating.
Yeah, I mean, really deep fake stuff in general it's really like a weird trend and it's kind of gross. Like even the funny, like there's like some funny TikTok accounts. There's like one of Keanu Reeves. It's like a deep fake Keanu Reeves TikTok account where we all know it's a deep fake. And like that's the joke. It's a joke, but it is sometimes you're like, it's kind of weird. Like if you really think about it, like it's kind of odd.
I think anything like deep fake wise should not be readily available to like the public in terms of like being able to create things with deep fake and like AI technology and like that kind of stuff, because it can be so misused. I think using it in certain aspects for like movies and film,
yeah,
I think that can be okay. But again, that's with the people's consent for it to be used.
Yeah.
So like there's
it can be really useful, like whenever you're having to like if someone dies in the middle of filming, like being able to use that.
Or like, is it I think I was watching another podcast and they mentioned the Die Hard guy.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I think they mentioned him. I think he has is it called aphasia?
I don't know. Yeah, he's had to take a step back. He's like really sick.
But I think it was like part of his face was like paralyzed or something like that. But basically where he couldn't really act as much or to the degree that he wanted to. And so I think he the podcast I was watching anyway said that he had like a licensing agreement with certain I guess companies that were putting out movies and stuff like that where they could use like that deep fake sort of technology to then use his face and put him into what the hell?
Wow.
My hands just went crazy.
Yeah, that was violent.
But they could use that like technology to then basically put him into projects and stuff better than what he was able to physically like do himself, which in that case, if he's consenting to it and getting compensated for it and it's being used in that way, 100%, that's fine.
100%. Like it's being used in an appropriate manner.
Yeah. But again, I think the consent part is the biggest thing, because when you can make it seem that somebody is doing or saying something that they haven't done or said and that they didn't consent to making it seem like they've done or said, that's unethical. That's not okay.
No, it's disgusting. And it also has way too many loopholes to be like, it's just really nasty. Like, what's to stop some pedophile trying to take some child's face and then putting that on like somebody else or on like a shorter person, on somebody who's like 4 foot or even like people that are shorter than that, and then putting that child's face on that type of body, and then what is that, fucking ethical child porn? That's fucking disgusting. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
like that's just ew. Like it doesn't need to exist.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I just thought it was, but he's what makes that particular situation worse for that particular streamer or whatever is he then went and did like a live stream like to make an apology, and then in it he's like upset and sort of crying a little bit, but then his wife, he's married by the way, his wife is like just sitting a little bit in the background of the video, doesn't say anything, and is just crying in the background of the video.
That's just weird.
And upset, and people are like, what the,
I'm disturbed.
This is weird.
Ew,
Yeah.
Ew.
So I thought that would,
is she being held like hostage?
I don't think so. That was just odd. I mean, it does give off very like, anytime a man in a position of power or authority or entertainment or the public eye has to make an apology about something like sexual that he did wrong, his wife is like standing there behind him and slightly to the side.
No, I be like, bye, to deal with this shit on your own.
It's like a public perception thing of like, we're staying united. And it's like, oh, okay. All right, then. That's weird.
That is gross.
Speaking of gross things, there's this situation in Florida. Florida. You gotta get your shit together, bruh. So in Florida, there's this thing where So basically, it has to do with high school athletes, specifically girl high school athletes. And
Of course.
so in Florida, most high schools are governed, their athletics portion of it are governed by the FHSAA, which is the Florida High School Athletic Association. Georgia has one as well. It's called the GHSA, but basically it's this governing entity, this body that creates all the rules and regulations for high school sports.
Mhm.
They set the rules, the referees, they set safety guidelines and like things that they have to follow when it comes to like practices and, games and everything like that. So one of the things that they do is, so most high school athletic associations, and the Florida one included, they require athletes to get a physical before they can participate in high school athletics for that year. You usually have to get one every year. And so the FHSAA used to require just like a paper physical where like your doctor kind of like filled it out and you submitted it to your school or whatever, and they have it on file. But then they voted and they changed it this past, I think, fall to make it a digital one. So instead of a physical form you fill out, you have to go to like this website, fill out the form online, submit it, whatever. And so one of the parts of the form was for female athletes, and it was not mandatory that they submit this information, but it was suggested, or it was basically just like you can fill it out if you want to, but it's there, and ask the question to fill out information about their periods and their menstrual cycles. Like, when was the date of your first period? When was your most recent period? How long, like how many weeks in between, and things like that. Which, first of all, I understand maybe your doctor needing that information.
Yeah.
Because it can help them, just make sure things are going okay, especially during that time when your body is transitioning through puberty and stuff like that. I get that part.
Yeah, I'm asked that question sometimes at the doctor.
Yeah, but then it's also, that's for like medical purposes, like for any medication you might need to take or any procedures you might need to have, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's medically necessary. But why does a high school? Because you submit this information to your high school. So like, why does the high school or the FHSAA, why do they need to know that? So it's kind of weird to begin with.
Yeah.
So it was just like, again, suggested you don't have to fill it out. Well, they voted, I think, or they proposed an amendment in, I think it was September, October. The FHSAA did. They proposed an amendment basically to where it would make it mandatory that all female athletes have to fill out that information and provide that information to their schools before, as part of like their physical form.
Why?
That's the big question. So they haven't, I think later this month in February, they will put it to a vote and either approve it or disapprove it, whatever. But it goes to a vote later this month if it's going to be mandatory or not. And the governor said that he basically came out and said, I guess, that he was in favor of it. And so the reason some people have proposed why they would need to know this information, because again, by your confusion and mine as well initially, it's like, why?
I assume it's because he's all about the trans thing, right? Against it.
There's basically two arguments that people have said why they would want this information. One is to basically out any trans athletes attempting to compete in a sport that is like the gender that they were not born as. So, a trans girl trying to compete in girl sports or a trans boy trying to compete in boy sports. Because if they are then required to submit that information on their physical, and it's like, ooh, well, got you there. You've had a menstrual cycle and you're trying to compete in boy sports or whatever.
Boy sports. You ain't competing in these sports.
So they think that it is a way to try and enforce that aspect of it.
That's so dumb. You could literally just lie. Like, the fuck? What are they going to do? Come check your fucking legs? Like, get the fuck out of my ass.
Your physical has to be, it's complete. You don't complete it. Your doctor does.
Your doctor does it online for you?
I guess.
You could just lie to your doctor. I'm kidding. That's just weird.
I mean, you could, but your doctor's supposed to fill out that form for you and submit, because like a paper physical, you would just take the form to your doctor and they have to fill out all information.
Well, that's what
and sign it.
I guess I'm like, so wait, you have to go to your doctor and then they have to go online and fill that out?
I haven't done that.
Because I'm like, at that point, if you're in control of that whatsoever, like whatsoever.
Mm.
And you could literally just lie. Like
I mean, I would think that like even I don't know. I never had a physical done like that for sports or anything.
Neither.
So I don't know if it's like your doctor has to fill out everything themselves, or if you fill it out and they just have to like sign it and approve it.
Yeah.
And just like kind of make sure everything looks okay. I don't know, but so that was one thing, was the trans athletes issue in high school.
Why they're thinking that they would maybe be doing this, like that's like a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, or why they would want that information.
Yeah.
And the other reason people said was so that it has to do with like abortion and having access to information about girls' menstrual cycles can potentially help them in some way identify if girls become pregnant and then seek out an abortion or not. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's a little with that. It's not really enough information to go off of in terms of like, you know, girls, especially when you're first getting into puberty, but even throughout your entire life, your menstrual cycle can be very hit or miss sometimes.
Mhm.
Like, especially like elite athletes that have a low body fat, their periods can stop altogether, or they can be very like sporadic. I mean, stress can cause you to miss a period.
Mhm. It can induce it. It can also induce one. Like, I mean, it literally just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, also, are they filling out a form every month?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah,
like, I could literally
I
fill
agree.
it out and then get pregnant and then get an abortion. How the fuck would you know, bitch? Out of my face.
Yeah, but people are saying that, I mean, it's at least in terms of like asking for that information and making it mandatory, that it's at least would be a basis to start some sort of investigation or compile some sort of case against somebody, where it's like, well, you said on this form that, you know, your last period at that time was this, and then you have this many weeks in between cycles, and I don't know.
It's such an invasion of privacy. It's disgusting.
That's the biggest thing, is that I'm just like, it's so gross, like that you would want to know that information. Not saying periods are gross. They're just normal bodily functions. Yeah. I mean, it can be a little like gross to deal with in terms of like cleanup, but
yeah, I mean, it's not an enjoyable experience, but it's just part of fucking life.
Exactly.
Like, taking a shit is like, can be a gross experience, but like, you got to do it.
It just is what it is. But it's the overstepping a boundary of, you don't need to know that.
It's
like,
your
what
fucking business.
Yeah, it's like, what possible reason could you need to know that? And so there's been a lot of pushback. I mean, if I was a parent of a high school athlete in Florida, I would be very concerned about this. Like, I'm more concerned about this than I would be about like a trans athlete competing on my child's team. Like, at that point, I'm just like, I don't really care if a kid wants to play a sport or not. I like, whatever. I care more about like, why does this governing body, why does the FHSAA, why does my child's high school need to know any information about their menstrual cycle?
It's just gross.
And then another aspect of it was, so there are several other high school athletic associations in other states that do require that information, but and they submit it online. But the difference is that in some of these other states, the basically where they submit the information online, it like stays, the actual medical information stays with the doctor and on like their servers and in their like, I guess, files and stuff.
Yeah.
To where it's protected by HIPAA. Versus like with Florida, this website they're entering information on, it's not like a medical practice, it's not a doctor's office, it's just a database and a website that isn't protected by, there's no HIPAA laws to protect your information from being sold to other people or being given out, or like if the government does like a records request and wants to know information, then I mean, they can just get it. Like, they don't have to, there's no protections in terms of like doctor-patient confidentiality and privacy that you would be. So like, there's other states that do it the right way, where if you do need this information, like it's stored, like it's basically the doctor just giving an approval of like yes or no if they can compete and participate in sports, versus like this is like your information, you submit it on this website and it like the schools have access to it.
You know, for a state that is arguably, it is conservative, they seem pretty comfortable putting their nose in a lot of private people's business. That is the entire idea that conservatives are against, is get out of my fucking business. It's not your business. My business is mine. You do not need to know this information. You're overstepping your boundaries. So for a state that like holds arguably like mostly conservative people, or at least a vast majority, like you would think DeSantis being a Republican would be very like not into people overstepping their boundaries into really being in people's personal lives like that. It kind of completely goes against really that whole idea.
Yeah, I think
like that's just a really odd, like, why is it so it's only okay to do that to like people that like, excuse me? Like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, it's very concerning that the political party, that one of their cornerstones is supposed to be freedom and like individualism, that sort of idea of like the government shouldn't be able to overstep boundaries and tell me what to do and how to think and who to be. Like, they sure are changing. I don't know. It's concerning to me.
It's just odd. Like, has everyone lost their fucking mind? Has honestly everybody lost their fucking mind? Like, what in the fuck is wrong with everybody? Like, what is wrong with you? What is it? Like, what is the problem? You know, I know we have to wrap it up, but I want to talk about a buzzword really quickly.
Okay.
Really quick. That
quickly
is just hysterical. Chronically online people. Have you heard of Chronically Online yet? Where basically you have these people that sometimes you just see them like say something and you're like, this can't be like real people's views. Like people that are like, I would say so conservative, you're like, you're not real. Or so liberal, you're like, you're not real. Like the people that want to call it chest feeding and not breastfeeding. Like those people. You're like, that's not like a real like person. Like no one's actually really that concerned. So they're saying you have this group of people and this generation of people that are so chronically online that they have a completely
warped perception
of the world and like people's views and how people actually feel and what's a big deal and what's not. Like I saw a video of this person talking about, I'd like to point something out. I'm not saying that I want to get anybody's pronouns wrong. If I get them wrong, just tell me and then I will correct myself and move forward with whatever you tell me I need to. But it's the idea that like some people are like, yeah, you know what? We get so upset with that and so upset with this. And then people belittle what we're saying with, bro, do you realize that that's like your biggest problem? And in other places in the entire world, there's like people starving and getting killed for being like getting killed. And like, go look at Iran and you're sitting here complaining about that. So that's what this one person online was saying. And they're like, well, I mean, you're just belittling my thing. And I can't help whether that's happening in other parts of the world. But this is still my struggle. And then someone was like, you're done. You're done. You literally did not just compare your problem to other people's actual problems that are like life and death. And so there's this whole thing talking about like and it's not just like pronouns and it's not just like the LGBTQ community, but it was like that type of like,
or I mean, you could even say, you know, like people that are saying the LGBTQ are trying to brainwash our children through drag performers or through and like their whole mission in life. And that's their biggest issue in life is trying to like make it to where drag is illegal. Or it's, you know, the censoring of books in high school and middle school libraries where it's, you know, their biggest thing is, oh, they're trying to brainwash our children and make them more sexualized and all these books need to be removed. And it's like, that's your biggest problem. But yeah, I mean, I get
chronically online people.
I mean, it's an
epidemic. Would it be an epidemic? It would be an epidemic. What's the difference between a pandemic and an epidemic?
I don't know.
I don't either. I know COVID was a pandemic. Epidemic, I'm not sure, but I feel like it's falling into epidemic. There's something about, I mean, it feels epidemic.
It feels more.
It's giving epidemic.
It's serving. Yeah, I mean, I think that is. I don't know if I like chronically online, and in terms of a phrase, I don't know how I feel about the phrase yet. But the idea behind what it means,
yeah,
I totally get that.
100%.
I'm totally on board with. There are definitely people who basically live so much of their lives and so much of their interactions daily are online, and so much of the thoughts and the, I guess, you know, stuff that they consume is online, that it's these like echo chambers to where, I mean, yeah, it does feel like it's all anyone's talking about. I mean, I call it like pockets. I call it pockets on the internet. I was thinking pockets and spheres, and then my brain got fucked up.
I kind of feel like you should like coin that. Pockles.
There's pockets or spheres of the internet where, you know, your whole corner of the internet can be talking about this one thing, and then someone else's corner of the internet has no idea it's happening. Like, I've had IRL conversations with people where it's like, oh, Anna, have you heard about da 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 da? And I'm like, no, what's that? And they're like, you're kidding, right? You haven't seen this? It's all over my feed and it's everywhere online. And I'm like, it's not in my corner of the internet. I have no idea what that is.
Recently, my corner of the internet was Jeffree Star coming back and reviewing that mascara. That was it.
He's apparently
he's an NFL player.
Got a boo thing that's an NFL player that's like 6'5" or something crazy.
Good for him.
You know what? Live your life.
Yeah, live it. Actually, the whole reason he came back was kind of like low-key controversial. Basically, an influencer on like a makeup influencer on TikTok pretty much was reviewing this L'Oreal mascara, and then like as she's putting it on, it seems that the video cuts, and suddenly you're like, "That's a false lash." Like,
that mascara didn't do that by itself.
Yeah, and so basically everyone's like, "That's like a false lash." She's like, "They're not false lashes," and then her name's Michaela, I think. So then Jeffree came back and reviewed it and was like, canceled.
I've seen a little bit of him being like, well, since all these other bitches are lying to you about their product reviews, I guess I have to come back now and give you what you've been missing, which is true, honest makeup reviews. I saw
pretty much
that.
Yeah, that was my pocket of the internet.
Yeah,
and then someone else will come up with I'm sure there's a whole thing on TikTok about the deep fake stuff about that guy, and did not come across me at all.
There's a lot of stuff that I come across on, especially I'm very, very active on Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff I come across that I'm like, you've heard about this, right? And you're like, I have no idea.
No, but there's a lot of stuff I'll say and you're like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's just different pockets.
But see, the thing is, we are not chronically part of the Chronically Online community.
No, we're not part of that community.
Because what we do is we observe what's going on in our pocket of the internet, our little corner, our sphere. And then we go offline. And then we're like, hey, have you heard about this thing everyone online is talking about? No, I had no idea. It's a conversation where we then compare notes, and then we can actually talk about things from a perspective and a point of view, or we can talk about these things with other people who have different perspectives and different points of view than just the people that agree in that echo chamber.
Well, yeah, I think that's the whole reason like it's even fun for us to have, because a lot of the stuff we both tend to agree on, but we don't always see eye to eye on everything. But it's never been like, well, that point of view is just dumb. Like, I feel like anytime we have disagreed, it's like, I get where you're coming from, you get where I'm coming from, but we just stand on whatever side we're standing on. And it's not necessarily that I'm like, well, you're just a bad person, so bye.
Yeah. It's just like, well, I disagree, or I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that is as important or as big of a point as these other points that I agree with, or whatever it is. So it's what real people do.
Yeah, it's
when they have conversations.
Yeah, it's not chronically online.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just a difference between like being online a lot and the whole chronically online thing is just like go step outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is that the internet is a tool that can be used to gather information, to, disperse information, and some people don't view it or use it as the tool that it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tool for entertainment. It's a tool, but it's not supposed to be where you live.
Yeah, it's not your end all be all. Like, the internet is not reality. And so you have to use it. I think if you use it appropriately, it's a great tool, and you can live a very healthy life, in conjunction with it. But when it becomes your end all be all, this is reality, this is the only thing that I know, and how I exist is through this thing. No,
real world experience versus online. I mean, it's just not real life, dude. But yeah. Well, that about ends this one.
That was all over the place. These last two episodes have just been a little like hippity hoppity all over.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we only have so much time that we can cover all these things that have happened.
I know, and we already went over, but I'm like, whatever. Well, that's it. I guess we shall wrap it up. I'm tired. And I'm my nose is cold.
It's starting to run.
Yeah, a little. I'm like,
it's cold in your...
I'm like,
okay. Make sure you follow us on all of our platforms at Waypod, WAYYPOD. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and who else? YouTube. We're here on YouTube where you're currently viewing us. If you are currently viewing us, if you're not viewing us, why not?
You're ugly, dumb, and stupid.
Yeah, you shouldn't just listen. You should watch us on YouTube. You can.
I mean, if you listen, you're not ugly, dumb, and stupid either. But you should definitely watch us because then not only will you just not be, you'll be the opposite of those things.
Yeah, it's not enough. You can't just not be ugly, dumb, or stupid. You have to actively be anti ugly, dumb, or stupid.
Yeah.
You can also on YouTube hit the notification bell or subscribe and all that jazz so you don't miss an episode when we upload.
Exactly. Because who would want to do that?
Yeah. New episodes. The audio comes out on Mondays ish, and then the video comes out on Tuesdays ish.
Hopefully, in the February is Get It Together month.
Yeah,
I'm saying it here. February is Get It Together month.
Be consistent,
and hopefully, I can make that happen. We can. Hopefully, we can. I need to get it together.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it, and we will see you guys next week.
We will see you next week.
We won't see you. You'll see us.
Yeah, we won't see you. We won't see you next week. Have fun watching us. Bye.
Bye.